Okay. The first individual that's going to speak is Tyler Dunham. He's an assistant district attorney with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office.
Say that again, sir. I'm sorry.
It's Tyler Dunman. He's an assistant district attorney with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. He's the ADA that's been working on the case. His last name spelling is Dunman, and his first name is Tyler, Tyler. Lieutenant Philip Cash is also going to be speaking. He's the commander over the Special Investigations Unit and the HIDA unit here at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. His last name spelling is Cash. His first name spelling is Philip. Also accompanying them, that'll be present with them, will of course be Brett Ligon, the Montgomery County District Attorney. His last name spelling is Ligon. First name spelling Brett. And of course, Sheriff Tommy Gage is also going to be present during the press conference. His spelling's right behind me, just in case anybody needs it. It's Tommygage. If you would, when they come out, we're going to let all the speakers first, please let them make their presentation first. Let the two speakers speak, and then we'll open the floor for questions. Again, just please let them complete their statements, and then of course we'll get as many questions in as we can, okay? Is there any questions before I get them and tell them we're ready? Nothing?
Hello?
Test 1, 2.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Tyler Dunman. I am the Special Crimes Bureau Chief for the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. And yesterday, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department, the DA's office here in Montgomery County, the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration's Customs Enforcement, HPD, the Harris County Constable Precinct 4, executed 4 different search warrants at locations in Montgomery and Harris County. These search warrants were related to a larger human trafficking ring that covers both Harris and Montgomery County. During the search warrant of these different locations throughout Montgomery and Harris County, investigators, officers discovered and recovered evidence of human trafficking and commercial sex acts and industry. As part of that, we recovered a total of 8 different victims of human trafficking. Those victims were secured by some entities, nonprofit groups that came in, secured them in a safe location, provided them food and resources and things that they needed as part of this investigation. As part of that, law enforcement also arrested 4 different individuals as part of this human trafficking ring. These are the human traffickers, the individuals who are moving these girls around from different locations in Harris and Montgomery County. I'm going to try to attempt their names for you. Thomas Tran, Nenying Zing, Jeffrey Wright, and Zing Shi. These individuals were arrested and charged with the first-degree felony offense of engaging in organized criminal activity, with the underlying offense being a second-degree felony of human trafficking. We're still looking for one individual, and I'm going to let Lieutenant Cash of the Sheriff's Department discuss his information.
With our warrants yesterday, we were successful in arresting all the suspects except for one. His name is Ginger Wang, 33-year-old male. He has ties to Montgomery County and in the southwest part of Houston. And we're asking for the help of the community to locate this person. He has an active warrant. You can contact Crime Stoppers or your local police department with any information. We'd appreciate anything we can do to get this guy off the streets. Thank you.
That's the basic information that we're going to provide at this point. We will take some questions here relating to the arrest and the search warrants, and we'll try to provide as much information as we can.
Why is it so important to get this guy off the streets?
Well, obviously, one of the things we're looking for is to crack down on the trade itself, and so I think it's been inaccurately reported as if these are prostitution cases. These are not prostitution cases. These are people that are victims of human sex trafficking. And so the federal government has identified a 3-part plan of things that we're supposed to be really focusing on. One is the way that they're bringing the victims in. And so in the same way that on the sex case you'd see a grooming pattern occurring, that's what's going on. This person continues to be involved in engaging in organized criminal activity. The underlying offense is a second-degree felony. Because the engaging, it's a first-degree felony offense. Now clearly the law enforcement community and the community at large has a vested interest in trying to bring somebody to justice, somebody who is otherwise absconded or is evading. The other deal is, once we can identify them, if there's a successful prosecution, obviously what we're hoping to do is clamp down on the trade. We don't even hardly have any sexual-oriented businesses in Montgomery County. We're certainly not going to tolerate human trafficking for sex cases. We believe that this person is involved. We want to crush the trade here in Montgomery County. So the good thing is we've got the resources to provide towards it, and so we're trying to get everybody that's involved, and we don't want to let anybody out of the net.
What are the nationalities for these victims?
They're of Asian descent. There is one that appears to be a white male, and we will provide the photographs for it, as well as the photograph and information for the person that's still wanted.
Yeah, and I think to the victims are Chinese nationals.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant the defendants. I should have listened.
There seems to be at least one common denominator in these cases, and that is that most of these businesses, so it appears, are ones that offer massage therapy. Can you speak to why these particular businesses seem to be, at least for now, the front for these cases of human trafficking?
Well, once again, when we look at the model that the federal government has provided for us, the commercial establishments are the #1 area, the #1 venue that are used for these, for the massage parlors. Part of it has to do with just what you would know through human nature. It doesn't require a college degree to get into the massage business, and so if you have people that are coming over, there's obviously a difficulty in language. We had to provide interpreters yesterday to speak to the victims as well, and so like a lot of victims, they don't have the ability, they usually don't have a lot of resources. They're brought here under false means, and so we don't know if their family's being threatened or if they're being coerced here for the bounty that is the United States of America. And so when you're talking about a trade that doesn't require a lot of skill, basically, it's not an engineering trade, or it's not a trade that requires a high degree of knowledge or education. And so these massage parlors appear just what you think. I mean, when the raids were being conducted, what I would like for you to focus on the fact that there is no glamour in human sex trafficking. Some people still have a misguided notion that this is about sex, and it's not about sex. It's about money, and it's about power. It's about who has it and who doesn't have it. And so these people are living out of their suitcases. They're living in cramped quarters. They're living in squalor. They're eating off of hot plates with food that's laying about. I mean, the conditions that you would, you've got animals that are being treated better than humans are. And so when you ask what the common element is, the fact that you've got victims that don't have the resources to stand up. And I think there's been a huge change in law enforcement, at least over the last 20 years since I've been there, to try to rescue these victims and recognize them for what they are. The fact that they're being victimized by people who have authority or people who have power, and so they're taking the young, the innocent, those who can't fight back, and they're exploiting them.
There are 3 businesses up here in northern Harris County, Montgomery County, and then there's the one location that was raided down in Houston on Bellaire Boulevard. Can you explain that, like you talked about this being a ring, can you explain how it operated and how these places are connected? Just briefly,
this case came in as some tips from the public. They were seeing a high volume of traffic at a home in the Woodlands. Law enforcement, SIU with the Sheriff's Department, began to do an enormous amount of surveillance relative to this house. And what they discovered is that these individuals were moving these females around from location to location. And as they continued their surveillance, literally around the clock for months at a time, they discovered the different locations that the girls were being taken to. So as part of the investigation, we identified the target locations that we hit yesterday as part of the ring, and it included the area there in Bellaire in Chinatown as one of the centralized locations. So at least for the ones that were arrested, that was kind of their circle of influence and their circle of trafficking that included Montgomery County.
And they would take the girls to all these different places, and
that's correct.
Engage on, okay.
That's correct. Yeah, they were moved around constantly, which is what obviously is the felony offense here. It's a commercial sex trade, and based upon the phenomenal job that the Sheriff's Department did through their investigation, we were able to identify them and get them arrested.
With Houston and Harris County being just south of our county, is human trafficking an overarching problem in Montgomery County? In from the Houston area?
Yes, Houston, they have a Human Trafficking Rescue Alliance, and they've done a phenomenal job of identifying this issue and addressing it both at the federal level and the state. As part of that, they see Houston as being a hub, an area that you have an increase for human trafficking, just like any other type of crime, for example, and they're doing an excellent job at addressing that. And so from that, we do see, just like with any of our offenses, aggravated robberies, different things, an influx in Montgomery County coming from that. And this is a prime example. They're operating in Harris County, but they have chosen locations in Montgomery County. And as the district attorney said, that's where we're going to come in and disrupt and disband this type of behavior in our county. And this is the first step and part of that. And so we're happy that this went as planned. This was the first human trafficking 100% human trafficking case that's being filed in Montgomery County, and we plan to pursue it very aggressively.
How many months in the making was this? How long did this take you guys?
Yeah.
We started receiving information in March, and not just at these locations, but several locations in Montgomery County. And this is something we haven't seen in the past. Just in the recent year, we've seen several massage parlor fronts opening up throughout the county.
Do we know the ages of the victims? You said 8 of them?
Yes, they're between 20 and 30 years old.
And they're Chinese nationals, you said?
That's correct.
Okay.
No males victims?
No.
Do you know how they came to the area?
Yes, through our investigation, we've found that several of them have just recently been here, less than 2 weeks. Some have been here longer. They come into the country, usually escorted by one of the people in the organized crime group, and they may be brought to New York or California, and they actually move them around the country. They'll be in our area for a while, and they transfer them to another area. And we've had, through our investigation, we found ties to a lot of ties to New York City.
Or is there some like known organized crime organization that this might be part of?
We are working with Homeland Security and also the New York City Police Department. I'm trying to identify this group, but we do believe it's a large, very large organized crime unit.
What's next for these victims? Yeah, I know you said they were in the hands of a few nonprofits.
Yeah, a couple things. One, they will continue to be kept safe and secure and provided, what they need for their mental and physical health. As part of that, they are working with and will be working with the federal government, immigrations, to understand exactly how they entered the country and how might they might be able to stay here, pending the outcome of these particular cases. Our law that allows them to stay here if they're not here legally, so that we can prosecute these cases and do what we need to do with their cooperation. So that's kind of the future that they have, and most importantly, they've been taken from this very dangerous situation that they were in, and hopefully we'll get to present them when we get to present these cases.
What is the, you said that this was, let's not treat this as prostitution ring or anything like that. What were these 8 women doing I mean, they were obviously trapped, but did they have what they were supposed to do or what they were doing in there?
They were having sex for money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were being forced into it. And so that's the human trafficking part. Prostitution is a misdemeanor. And you'll notice we didn't file any prostitution cases because we have taken a broader view, which is these people are victims. They're being coerced here, either because their family's being threatened or because they're being told a certain thing to work off money. And so it's a very identifiable pattern. It's a grooming type of thing that we're seeing. And so instead of us re-victimizing the victims by filing prostitution cases on them, we're recognizing them, and society's doing a better job about recognizing the fact that a lot of these women are compromised. They come from very little means to begin with. And so, the focus of this has been on the traffickers themselves, which is why those were all the felony charges.
Do you expect to have more victims come forward because it's only 8 of them?
One of the good things about a press conference is there are 600,000 residents in Montgomery County and 6 million in Harris County, and hopefully you've got enough outreach to help us identify this person who's fled. But if you'll remember what Lieutenant Cash said, it was a citizen, it was a good citizen who came forward and said, hey, I think I'm seeing this. And so do we expect more victims to come forward? Absolutely. Because somebody is going to say, oh, I didn't realize there were resources out there. I didn't realize that I don't have to have this life, and that if I contact somebody from the government or if a friend of mine contacts somebody from the government. And so whether they're victims of this or of another type of an engaging type of a case, absolutely. We hope to be able to provide services for all the victims and get them out of this type of a lifestyle.
You started to mention the conditions inside when you conducted these raids. Were you shocked by what you saw, and can you describe that?
I'm not shocked by anything anymore. I've been doing this for 20 years, from every type of crime that you can imagine. But
and I can speak to that. I'm sure the Lieutenant can as well. It was shocking, and because what you realize is that it was a place that they could never leave. There was food brought into them. Whatever possessions they had in their suitcase was what was found in rooms there. In part of the the storefront there, they had a room where they would sleep every night, and they had no way to communicate with the outside world. So food's being brought into them, is our understanding, and they're kept there to operate this business each day, 7 days a week. So if you can imagine, it's simply like being, trapped into if you were taken from your country, dropped in some other country, you don't speak the language, you have no idea where you're at, you're under threat and coercion from others, and it's a terrible, terrible situation. I think all of us that were there on the scene were impacted by the pure just evilness of the situation that they're in. And
It is
so
the truest form of modern-day slavery, period.
Repeat that again, Brad.
It's the truest form of modern-day slavery. These people don't have any means, they can't escape, and there's only one lifestyle and they're forced into it.
Can you talk about the evidence that you recovered there?
I can't get into specifics about what was recovered.
Why are you looking for him? Was he there and he ran away when you guys did the raid? Kind of tell me about that.
During the arrest, his vehicle was observed, and he did abandon his vehicle and hid from the police. But he lives in the Bellaire, southwest Houston area, and we believe someone in the public will know him, and they will contact us and get him off the streets.
Is he associated with the spa on Bellaire Ave? Was he at that arrest?
We went to residents. We did search warrants at some of their residents where these guys live, the heads of the organization here, the ones that are running it here in Houston. He was observed near one, but he also saw the police and fled. He abandoned his vehicle on foot, so we are looking for him, actively looking for him.
Was there a short foot chase involved at all?
No, he got out of his car and into an apartment complex before the officers could detain him.
So you got a picture of a vehicle there. Is that another vehicle he may be driving?
Yeah, that is a vehicle similar to what he drives. He is part of the organization. He travels all over the greater Houston area transporting these females. So he's going to be in the area, and hopefully someone will see him and contact us.
Any tag number on that vehicle?
It wasn't provided right now. Thank you.
You talked about how these people were like the local heads of the organization. What was their role, and were they conducting it, and how did they interface with people nationally or internationally?
I think in two ways. One, they secure the locations and set up the locations that the girls will ultimately end up working in. That's part of it. Then they coordinate with others to get them into the country and assign to these different locations. And so they're literally driving them around, moving them from location, constantly changing their location, as well as providing them the basic needs to survive while they do this commercial sex trade. So it's a matter of coordinating and keeping it organized amongst the different locations.
How big would you say this ring is, maybe compared to other rings that have been busted, or
It's the biggest in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt this is part of a larger group, as Lieutenant Cash has said, that crosses state lines and probably international. And so we're working with the federal government, and they're actively involved in this investigation to determine that and answer that question.
This guy has a criminal record?
We don't know exactly their criminal record at this point. We're still learning exactly their resident status and that sort of thing.
Usually in these cases, you tend to get cash from these alleged places of business. Did you get any cash when you...
We can't speak to what we recovered at these places, including any type of cash or property or anything like that.
We can say this guy was one of the leaders, though, right?
Yes, he was involved in this ring as one of the coordinators, and that's why he's being sought by law enforcement. All right.
Is there video available from the actual operation that we could get access to at this thing?
I don't know that there is. I don't believe so. I can check on that for you.
Okay.
are there believed to be any other people aside from this guy out there that might be part of this organization or this ring?
Well, I can't speak to additional investigations and where this might take us. Just at this point, we're trying to get this guy in custody. I think that's all the questions we are going to take at this time. Thank you very much.
Sorry, repeat your first and last name one more time?
I'm Brett Ligon, I'm the district attorney.
Brett, thank you, sorry.
You'll have the pictures for us of the other people arrested?
Yes, we can get you those.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all.